Alright, hello everyone. Today, we are going to be talking about the saddest and worst weapon class in the game. The BRELLAS, of course. This happens to me when range is good. My second favorite weapon has to become terrible, and same for the rest of his class. So we're going to talk about it. This was a main channel video that I didn't really like how the script came out, so we're just going to do a brief one here. So, quick history of BRELLAS. This is a class made around a shielding capability, which is obviously a very extreme trait, but BRELLA is very well designed in terms of what it's supposed to deal with. BRELLAs are supposed to encourage more teamwork without forcing it, since it's much easier to 2v1 with a BRELLA or 1v2 against a BRELLA. At the same time, this was made to deal with some of the most common classes in the game: shooters and dualies. These are the most versatile, well-rounded, and in general, these will be the majority of your comps. And increasing your comp diversity is a very smart thing in the game, especially now with Splatoon 3, now that we have 11 weapon classes. It's quite a lot to get used to. So, when BRELLAs were introduced, we're going to be looking at that history for now. They had to get tweaked a little bit, because they weren't super well designed at first, and then they became really good. They were now good at their job. They were now at the point the devs wanted it to be. They removed it from being a special spammer, which was probably some form of temporary solution, and now we have BRELLA being really good. They started balancing it really smart, because they made it so there were more options at dealing with the weapon, especially for the classes that it countered, without making BRELLA feel like it was weaker at what it was supposed to do. For example, going down to 200p means that the weapon can't get its special as often as something like a shooter, because the shooter will be able to paint for it more. So, if you are our shooter player over here, and you want to deal with BRELLA, then you can play for your special more. Because, you know, trying to break the shield when stalling around is going to be a little bit difficult. So, that's the option they gave. Another thing they would do, for example, is they would make it so BRELLA is more ink hungry. I don't have any savers on this set, and you can see, especially when I hold my shield, holding shield for a second drops you about 15% of your ink tank. I run out of ink pretty fast, and then there's also some white ink frames, a bit of a delay before I recover ink. So this means there's more downtime. If you're a good shooter player, you can find more openings where the BRELLA won't be able to shoot or play around your special more. These are more options to deal with it, but if a BRELLA player's good, they can work harder to force more engagements that favor them. Everything looking good so far. We also decided to make the counters to BRELLA a bit better. We made chargers break the shield better, blasters break the shield better, cool stuff. And then eventually, they gave up. This is just, we give up. We can't do it anymore. We give up. Sorry, we don't know what to do anymore. We take away the damage. And the reason the damage matters for a fight is, think about it. If you're trying to fight a shooter and you're around max range, even just a small amount of missing, and it's not going to be two-shotting. Shooters already kill faster than BRELLA's two-shot as is, but now it's even more inconsistent, which means what BRELLAs have to do is they have to get this close. Then they can kill it reliably when they get around that close. That's also when they get to do their shield combo, for example. So BRELLAs now have to get way too close. The other problem is their damage is now absolutely horrible. If you have to break an HP special, which is actually more important in this game, say you have to break a big bubbler, or break a wave breaker quickly, or fill a vacuum, you know? All of those are very, very important. And BRELLA can't do that as well because it's missing a whole 9 damage in every shot. This also happened with Tenebrella, which went from 122.5 to 117.5, I believe. Might be a little bit off on those numbers. And that reduced its overall DPS. So, that's how we ended up where we are right now. It also decreased the minimum damage, which made them less reliable, and then of course, if you know BRELLAs, they don't work all the time. So that means, in the current state of BRELLAs, you are trying to make up for the following weaknesses: damage output, damage to objects, ink efficiency, speed, because the weapon's slow, overall for moving, it has a sizable amount of end lag and startup lag, kill time, which is already bad, but most of the time you're 3-shotting, your range, your effective range is very short, and your range in general is short, your paint output. Now, if you didn't know, because some people are like, what, BRELLA has bad paint? Yeah, let me guys show you what they base BRELLA paint off of, okay? Boom. And then we're gonna pick a completely unrelated weapon. Huh! These look awfully similar, don't they? All almost like these datas are mostly copy-pasted or something, huh? So yes, Brella does not pay weight. It still fires faster than the Bucket, but the ink efficiency is around just as bad, and Bucket's still not a good painter. So yes, Brella has weak paint. Wonderful. On top of that, we have a weak sub-weapon. Sprinkler is shit. We have low special output, because we're still 200p. It might not be as bad, because a lot of the shooters aren't 180, but it's still bad. You have overall downtime, because you have to spend a lot more time recovering your ink. Fighting most of the special weapons. Many of the new specials are either great at damage per second or keeping Brella from fighting it. For example, you can't shield a Wave Breaker. You can't shield an Ink Storm. You can't break a Big Bubbler fast. A Zuko will shred your shield. A Crab Tank will shred your shield. An Ultra Stamp will shred your shield. A Reef Slider will shred your shield. See the point. Area of effect weapons have become more common, because blasters are a weapon class that actually functions at a competitive level outside of Rapid in this game. And of course, we have Sloshing Machine, so you're fighting more of the hard counters. Bow is an insanely good counter, because Bow can both hit around the shield and do high damage to the shield. Light Bow especially does high damage to the shield. And then you have Splatanas, which have insane damage to the shield. And if you get around all of those, keep in mind, you're gonna die through shield randomly at uncontrollable periods during the match. Is it worth doing all of that for a weapon which shield does not even work, especially if you play this one, will fucking randomly spawn in the wrong location half the time? I'm lucky it even worked for this clip, frankly. And then Undercover may not have been subject to the same nerfs, but that's because Undercover didn't need damage nerfs for this problem, because Undercover already has it. Undercover already has the bad damage problem, where it can barely 3-shot at max range. Not as bad as the others, but that 3-shot's already really weak, so that's why it's one of the worst, if not the worst, weapons in the game. BRELLAS right now are left in a state where their extreme strengths are not worth it, and their weaknesses have piled up so much to the point where it's too many. Here are the two things that we should do about it. Number one, any amount of glitch fixing we can do with the BRELLAS should be done. I have a clip somewhere on my Twitter if you want to scroll for it, where when BRELLA Shield is launched, it can completely desync and either be broken or regen and a bunch of other bullshit. Tenebrella can go straight into the skybox, you can shoot through a bunch of other stuff. Now, I'm aware we're on Nintendo Switch Online, and that shit will still suck ass and be inconsistent. But it can be better, and that is what I would like it to be. The second point, and the more important one, is to give BRELLAS their old damage back. BRELLA should be doing 90 damage. Tenebrella should be doing 125 damage. 119 is where it's at, so yes, I was wrong about that. I think I mixed up because the BRELLA pellet damage is 17. And Undercover BRELLA should be dealing 45 damage. If we give them their damage back, then these two things are no longer weaknesses. I don't know if I'd say they're strengths, but they're no longer weaknesses. We could remove that from the list. This is still a weakness, but it's not as bad, so that's now better. And then everything else is about the same. Except this may be a little bit better as well. We still have a fuck ton of extreme weaknesses. Still probably the most. But the difference is, outside of just reducing them, is we're making the idea of actually having and using a shield something that is worth having and worth picking the weapon for. I firmly believe that 10 out of 11 of the weapon classes in Splatoon 3 feel better in this game than they ever had. I would just like it if BRELLAS could also join that list, because this is one of the most healthy, inventive, and unique weapon classes for the game. So, Nintendo, let's start fixing them, okay? You still got like 2 years plus however long you continue patches, so like, you got time. That's gonna be it for this discussion though. Let me know what you think about BRELLAS, the worst class in the game. And I will see you guys later.